We're going to lead you through a session about making it last, really making DISC stickier in your organization by embedding it into your L&D processes for a long-term impact. So that's me and that's Steph again. You know who we are. We've been here all week. All right, so we're going to jump in. So, what are our objectives for this session? Really, they're to give you practical ideas for matching Catalyst and DISC tools to L&D processes. We want you to walk away with some clear, actionable steps that you can use right away for seamless integration in organizations. And a flexible framework will leave you with that. It's a template that will help guide future integrations, okay? And by the end of our time together, you'll have concrete ideas that you can start implementing at scale right away. So let's dig in. Okay, so if you were here on day one, Steph alluded to something similar to this, and you probably are very aware of this unfortunate pattern with learning and development in general. So with DISC, you deliver an amazing DISC session. People are engaged. You're seeing those aha moments happen in real time. They're feeling it. And then a month later, people are still going back to Catalyst, but that initial thrill and buzz is kind of like worn off. And then maybe 3 months later, oh, right, Catalyst. I forgot about that. I'm going to go look at that right now. And really, this happens, and it happens regardless of what the training is about. It's a phenomenon that happens in any in L&D and anywhere else. But if it's treated as an event that sort of sits separate from everything else that people do, their flow of work, the learning tends to fade, really, no matter how good that training was. And that's really why we built Catalyst, so that it could be a tool that works in the flow of people's everyday life. And even with a good tool, a great tool that's designed for people to come back to it again and again, it can still be forgotten. But don't worry, there's a solution, and we're happy to talk with you about it today. So, what is it? Integration. So, some of this information probably isn't surprising to you, but research shows that organizations that implement that spaced reinforcement of a learning concept see training effectiveness improvements of up to 186%. That spaced repetition and application can then boost recall by up to 150%. And this is something that we know in L&D, maybe not the numbers, but we just know it intuitively and anecdotally. Ultimately, integrating and repeating the use of DISC and Catalyst provides consistent reinforcement that really creates that lasting behavioral change. People aren't just learning DISC one time, they're revisiting it repeatedly, and not only in situations where they need to prep for meetings like we've talked about over the course of this week, but real situations that are just part of work. It also maximizes the investment that an organization makes into DISC and Catalyst. So weaving these tools into key moments extends the organizational investment in DISC much further beyond that one-time training. And finally, it really becomes part of the infrastructure because by embedding DISC and Catalyst into those existing processes, they're already happening. It really becomes how organizations just do these things, right? And it doesn't fade. Instead, it really becomes part of the infrastructure. So, where do we integrate? Which L&D processes do we use? Well, okay, there are many, and these are just ideas. So what we can see is that there are probably 6 key processes that happen in most organizations where Catalyst and DISC are easily embedded. So we've got onboarding, everybody's onboarding, team formation, performance reviews, change management, leadership development, and then retention and engagement. Those are happening in most organizations. The other thing that we know, if we take a step back and we just look at what success looks like, we know that organizations who've been successful building cultures around DISC have it embedded into these types of activities. And here's what's really cool. Most of these integrations can be implemented with minimal work and at organizational scale immediately by simply not simply, I don't ever want to say simply, but by enhancing the infrastructure that already exists in organizations. So those are the key processes. So what tools, let's just take a step back and say, okay, what tools should we use in these processes? And I want to do, Steph and I both just want to make sure there's a caveat here. There's no right or wrong way to do this. We had a lot of questions on day one about what we recommend in terms of order of learning. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Okay. Every single organization, every single need is very different. And there's so many different ways that you can use Catalyst. But today, we're just going to share a few high ideas for high impact Catalyst and disk integrations in organizations, and you've got a ton of flexibility. So, for onboarding and new hires, key tools you might consider using in onboarding would be Workplace, those colleague comparisons. Lisa and Angel just walked us through the power of those, and then group maps. Those are great tools to use in onboarding. When it comes to performance reviews, Workplace is a great tool, colleague comparisons, the management report, specifically the directing and delegating sections of that, and then really, 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 really powerful, that Work Smart giving constructive feedback module is super helpful in those performance reviews. For new team formation, Workplace is helpful, colleague comparisons, group maps, and conversation starters. You're going to hear us saying those things again and again. Those tools that come with Workplace are so powerful. Okay, so remember that everybody has access to those. For engagement and retention, continuing to revisit the workplace motivators and stressors, colleague comparisons, and for managers, the Work Smart modules on empowering and motivating your team. Super helpful in engaging and retaining employees. And we saw this in Elisa's poll yesterday. We are all dealing with a ton of change management. And Agile EQ is a great tool to help with that. And then Work Smart, the Work Smart module on helping your team navigate change, that is a huge, huge tool that can be used. And it's a really very impactful and immediately applicable tool. And finally, for leadership development, management, Agile EQ, and really any or all of those Work Smart modules. You've heard my excitement about Work Smart over the last few days. So any of those modules are super helpful in leadership development. So we can't hit on all 6 of these integrations in our time together today, but we're going to walk you through the top 3 in detail, and we're going to show you how to implement these things at organizational scale. And at the end of the day, you're going to have a model that you can use to create your own integration ideas for those 3 remaining L&D processes or whatever processes that you have in your organization. Okay, so let's take a look at that first opportunity. Steph, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks, Claire. Hey, everyone. Happy to be back here again with you all on our last day of Catalyst Week. I hope I have a few OG day oneers out there, but great to be here. So I'm so excited to talk about our first integration opportunity, which is onboarding. So this is perfect for implementing at scale from day one because onboarding is already a standardized process. So every new hire goes through it. So you're not creating something new, you're just adding touch points to what already exists. And I know everyone on this call knows this, but onboarding is just so vital to healthy organizations. And we know investing in onboarding programs really pays off. So research shows that organizations with really strong onboarding processes improve new hire retention by 82% compared to those with weak onboarding. Effective onboarding can increase new hire productivity by up to 70% within that first year. And employees who experience a structured onboarding program are almost 3 times more likely to be highly engaged at work. And I also think it's important to note, what about the people who go through a poor onboarding experience? So nearly 20% of new hires leave within the first 45 days if onboarding is poor or unclear. So just imagine adding an impactful way for new hires to engage immediately with their organizational culture by working with Disc and Catalyst right away. So here's what it looks like. It's just integrating Disc into onboarding over the new hire's first 4 weeks. So in their first week, the new hire completes the workplace assessment, which again takes about 15-20 minutes. They'll review their feedback independently, and they'll just get a better sense of their team and the organization's culture right away. During week 2, the hiring manager and new hire are going to have just a 20-minute conversation about their DISC profiles. So you can provide managers with a simple conversation guide that gives them the high points and the goals of the meeting. But ultimately, the meeting is just for the two to compare their styles and learn how they're going to work well together. Then in the third week, onboarding can expand to the broader team. So the manager is going to add the new hire to the team group in Catalyst so they can see the team's group map. And the team will spend about 20 minutes discussing so that the new hire really sees where they fit in the team style distribution and get some insights into how they work on a broader team. Then in the fourth week, assign the new hire just to explore 2 to 3 key relationships by using that compare a colleague feature. So the manager can just do a simple check-in and say, hey, how is DISC helping you navigate the team? So super simple. And then the total time investment here is only about 75 minutes over 4 weeks. So I just want to pause there and really hone in on that and look at that impact. So less than 20 minutes per week for 4 weeks to really improve that onboarding experience. And I wanted to like hone in on the results of that investment because I know I've talked about those stats a couple slides ago, but not just what we know about stronger onboarding experiences, but really directly from that new hire's point of view. They're going to come into the organization, and after a month, they're going to feel like I gained a deeper understanding of myself. I have a good starting point for understanding how to work with my manager. I got to know my team and can really understand and appreciate my team's culture. So it's ultimately going to lead them to this sentiment that's like, hey, wow, this new organization that I just joined actually invests in its people and its culture. So it's going to add depth to their onboarding experience. And it's also going to help avoid losing new hires due to poor onboarding. So here's how you can implement this at scale. And even just a few simple steps that you can take today. So you can start right now. So first, you'll just need to update your onboarding checklist to include the 4 touch points I just went through. Second, you'll create a one-page manager guide for the conversation they'll have with their direct report in week 2. Again, you can keep this super, super simple. Just provide them with a couple key questions and conversation starters to really navigate their conversation. And then they'll just compare their styles and learn how to work together. So, third, you'll brief hiring managers in your next manager meeting. So, you can take about 15 minutes just to walk through, like, here's what's changing in onboarding and why. And then next, you're ready to launch. You're ready to start with your next new hire. So, every new hire is going to get that same enhanced experience moving forward. And then last but not least, just track against your onboarding KPIs. So whether that's confidence, retention, productivity, whatever the KPIs are that you measure progress on, you'll just keep track of those key metrics and really see how they track over time. So those metrics that are important to your organization's goals. So new hires are really going to learn more about themselves. They'll be introduced to DISC as part of their workplace culture, and they'll get some shortcuts to understanding their team better. So they'll be ready to make an impact in the organization sooner, and it'll show the organization prioritizes investing in both their onboarding processes and their people. So I will pass it back to Claire to talk about our next integration.
Thanks, Steph. Okay, our second integration is performance reviews. So in almost all organizations, they happen on a cycle, right? At Wiley, we've got quarterly reviews that lead up to an annual review. And really integration with this process is great because you're not asking managers to do something entirely new. You're giving them a framework and shortcuts to do what they're already doing better. And there's a real opportunity to make performance reviews more impactful. Consider these stats. 80% of workers are dissatisfied with their performance reviews. 80%. 30% of performance reviews actually end up decreasing employee performance. Okay? They're not great. And this last one, 95% of managers are unhappy with traditional performance management. That's amazing. So really imagine the impact on these stats if managers had tools to make their performance review conversations easier and that they had those conversations led to more impact in their organization with their direct reports. So, all right. We're going to dig into this now. What tools should be used? Okay. So before that review cycle starts, we'll have managers review their own Catalyst profile. Again, as Lisa and Angel talked about earlier, it's important to understand yourself before you jump into these conversations. So they'll take some time to reflect on their feedback or their style and take some notes about what they might need to adjust. Then they spend a few minutes in the colleague comparisons for each of their direct reports. So they're looking at like what motivates the person, what stresses that person out, how do they prefer to be communicated with? Are there any key areas of difference? And if so, what should the manager be mindful of? And if they have WorkSmart, they should give you should give an activity to the managers to complete that giving constructive feedback module and create action plans for team members where they think they'll need them. And if they have management access, some people do, they can also review their own management style and dig even deeper than workplace to discover where they might need to adapt their style. And then during the reviews, the managers apply what they've learned in their pre-work about the person and the style to tailor that feedback to the person's unique needs and make an even bigger impact. And this is really important. It's not that the feedback is different. The feedback itself isn't different. It's just the delivery and consideration of each individual's needs that makes the impact. All right, so how do you implement at scale? Here's a map for you. 3 weeks before the next review cycle starts, you would send all managers the Everything Disc in Performance Reviews guide that we've created, and it's available in the practitioner community. It's a great tool to use, and it really is thorough and helps managers support. It helps support managers in those performance reviews themselves. And you can just send them a quick email. Here's a resource to help you prepare for reviews. Then 2 weeks before the next review cycle, you would host a 30-minute optional manager training session. You can call it Using DISC to Enhance Your Performance Conversations. We even have titles for you. Remind them of how to use Catalyst if needed, and then walk through the guide with them or take questions on the guide, helping just support them through the process. And at that same time, for managers with access to WorkSmart, you'd send them another email asking them to complete that constructive feedback module before they begin the review for the conversations that they're about to have and use those action plans when needed. And after performance reviews are done, you are going to measure the impact by immediately just adding 2 questions to your post-review employee surveys or whatever survey KPIs that you're measuring. The questions you can ask are, first, the feedback I received in my performance review will help me improve my performance. The second question would be, my manager demonstrated understanding of how I prefer to receive feedback and communicate. And you can use a scale of strongly disagree to strongly agree or whatever the organization has in terms of KPIs and measurement there. And that's it. Okay. It's a little bit of work, but it's going to have a high impact. So all of this will ultimately lead to improved performance reviews. And I can speak again from firsthand experience on this. Using these tools during performance reviews is a tremendous benefit. And I feel like it helps soothe myself and in preparing conversations that might be difficult, that might be challenging. And it also gives me shortcuts to have just general conversations about performance feedback. So managers are going to spend less time prepping for performance reviews. The tools themselves really help frame conversations that otherwise might take a ton of time to think through. Next, they're going to get shortcuts that make performance conversations more personalized and really impactful to each of their direct reports. And they'll feel equipped to have tough conversations. The action plans give ready to use ideas, as we saw with Elise yesterday, to prepare for and deliver tough messages. And ultimately, this adds depth to performance reviews and really changes their impact. So by doing all of this, hopefully the manager will feel a little bit more supported, and that 95% of managers who are dissatisfied with the performance reviews, that number is going to change a little bit more. They'll have tools to support them in those conversations. Okay. All right, Steph,
All
I'm going to
right.
turn it over to you again.
Yeah, I'll take us home with our last example on this. So our third integration is team formation. So this one's super proactive, just really systematic. So new teams are forming all the time. So new projects, reorgs, cross-functional initiatives. And the benefits to integrating DISC at this moment in time is that the team spends time just getting comfortable with one another on day one of a project or team. So that instead of the team, coming to a grinding halt, maybe mid-project or a couple weeks in, and others having to address problems reactively, you're going ahead and you're equipping the team to navigate these situations proactively. And doing it across the organization is going to create change across the entire culture. So it's not just these isolated improvements. So I think there are a lot of people who are like, why spend time here? Why can't we just start the project? Why can't we just start running with the newly formed team? And because, of course, we're gonna show you some research. It shows that team effectiveness really drives business outcomes. So 86% of workplace failures are attributed to poor communication or collaboration. And businesses lose an average of $15.5 million per year on poor team performance. And businesses that engage in regular team building activities have a 36% higher employee retention rate than those that don't. So, being proactive and really deliberate about this, about integrating DISC into the team formation process versus just teams moving directly into the work, is going to pay off. So, projects and teams aren't going to come to a standstill when the first disagreement pops up. They're going to get to know each other, and this can really be a springboard to set them up for success. Okay, I think everybody's starting to get into the pattern that we're setting up here, but what tools should we use? So for this example, we're going to assume that everyone has completed Workplace on Catalyst. And then from there, we're going to use Catalyst group maps for this one. So group maps, I know has come up a lot over the last 3 days. I feel like this is a fan favorite. They give so much value, and there are so many activities that come with them. It really is just a powerful feature. It's also a really easy integration. So it's only going to add about 30 minutes to a team meeting, which makes it simpler and easier to roll out across your teams. So whenever a new team forms in your organization or a new project's kicking off, just build in 30 minutes to their kickoff meeting to spend time understanding their group's dynamics before jumping right into that work together. So they can start with reviewing the team's group map in Catalyst. So they'll take a look at that and then they can dive into group insights and have a discussion around what the team observes from the makeup of the group. And then you can go into conversation starters and just to choose a topic to discuss as a group. So depending on why the new team was created, you could start with get to know your team or making decisions together. These are really designed to be light and flexible, so the conversation feels really natural and comfortable. And then it even has discussion questions throughout to help keep the conversation going, so it doesn't just kind of fizzle or hit a standstill. And then there's clear action items the team can agree on. So with that, the team's gonna pick three of those action items or operating agreements that they want to agree on with their team, and they'll use those as they move into their project work. Okay, so how do we integrate those group maps into the team formation process? So step one, update those checklists again. So add a 30-minute team dynamics activity to project kickoff meeting templates. Step two, you can create a one-page team formation guide highlighting this simple group map activity and discussing operating agreements. And great news, we've actually already done this one for you. So this one's super easy. You can go ahead and check that off. We'll release it in the community after our sessions today. And then step three is train. So train your team leads or your project managers on this update, and then you're ready to launch with your teams. And of course, last but not least, measure, measure, measure. Benchmark the team sentiment immediately after that first meeting with just a quick survey question. Maybe we have clear agreements about how to work together. So you can document those results and then you can survey with this question again at project midpoint or another designated time to really see how it's improved or progressed from that initial benchmark. So imagine if all teams started off this way. Just adding 30 minutes to a kickoff meeting gives the team the foundation they need for success. So from this, they're going to have understanding of their team dynamics. They'll have tools and insights to communicate well as they continue to work together. They'll know how to make decisions more effectively or how to navigate tough decisions. And they'll be able to work through different team member styles. So, really understanding themselves and each other's to help navigate through this project or this team. And it's really going to set them up for success as they pursue their goals. And it's going to give them, again, that solid foundation for just communication and understanding, just ultimately improving overall collaboration, hopefully wasting less time and money, and just working more productively. And with that, I'll pass it back to Claire to take us home. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Steph. Okay, so you probably noticed that there's a pattern that we're using to integrate in all three examples, and this is something that you can repeat if you need to. So first, this is important. You're enhancing an existing process that already happens. You're not adding another thing into the mix. So you're enhancing an existing process, whether it's onboarding, performance reviews, team formation. You're not creating something net new. Second, you update existing documentation, checklists, agendas, templates. It becomes how we do this process now. It's just part of the process. Third, you train the people who run those processes, whether it's managers, facilitators, team leads, project managers, whoever, and record the training session for future use and add that to the resources that support these processes in your organizations. Then you launch the updated process. And then finally, you measure. You measure the impact using metrics that you're already using, already tracking retention, engagement, team health. And then you refine based on what you've learned to keep improving. And this is how you really create lasting organizational change with Catalyst and DISC. Now, some of you might be thinking, yeah, all this sounds great, Claire. Steph, thank you very much, but I just can't roll this out to my entire org, and that's okay. What we've shown you today is really designed for organizational scale implementation, which is really the ultimate goal because that is what creates that lasting change. But if you can't integrate at scale right now, maybe you need to prove ROI first, maybe you're facing resistance, maybe you need investment approval from leadership. You can use the same integration approaches just on a smaller scale. So many organizations start off with pilots. So if you need to do that, that's great. So let's talk about a simple way to do that. First, decide on an integration that you think will make the biggest impact for your organization. Choose 5 to 10 participants, managers, teams, whatever, new hires, depending on your integration. Run that integration for a limited time, 60 to 90 days, 30 days, whatever you need. Measure the impact. Document the results in a simple one-page summary, noting any refinements you'd like to make. Take a moment to really evaluate the results. And if you're in a position to move forward on your own, take the next step to broaden the pilot out. Or if you're in a position where you need stakeholder buy-in, go ahead and present the results to the stakeholders. Here were the results of our pilot, and here's what we learned. And given this success, we'd like to move forward and scale this across organizations, managers, teams, whatever it might be for you. What steps do we need to move forward with that? So the idea here is that you're piloting with the intention to scale, not that you're going to stay in pilot mode forever, because you're establishing value and impact through this pilot process. All right. So let's take a couple minutes to get started on your implementation plan. We won't have much time for this, but I want you to think about which integration would you start with? Think about your own situation. You might want to start with your organization's biggest pain point or a process that you have the most control over and you can kick off quickly. Think about how you're going to implement it. Think about that process and what supporting processes, templates, checklists do you need to update? Who needs to be trained? When will you launch? What will you measure? We shared a couple of ideas for this earlier, and also think about the KPIs again that you're already trying to improve and tracking and how this could be beneficial. What's your first action step in the next week? Be specific and action oriented. What will you do? Okay. So, to avoid the problem that we talked about earlier, don't be this person. I'd like you to commit to taking action right now. So pull out your phone or your calendar or wherever you're taking notes and block time. I'm not going to say this week to do it because it's Friday and it's already like end of day in Europe, but do it next week, okay? Pull out your phone calendar, just block 30 minutes for yourself to really think this part through. All right. So with that, you have some starting thoughts on how to integrate this into your L&D processes, and you have the first action step for next week is to schedule some time for yourself. And this conversation shouldn't end here. Share your successes, challenges, and questions in the Catalyst practitioner community, and we'll learn from each other and grow together.